Hi guys, karibuni tena kwenye tuongee na Kilonzi. And I can tell you today we are having a hot topic. This is one of my most controversial videos I'm telling you to date. Because today we are talking about morality, where you get your sense of right from wrong. So, without further ado, I know many of you usually ask, where do atheists like myself get morality from? Because for many of you, you have been taught that morality comes from your religious text, your religious books, or it comes from God Himself. So you wonder, if you don't believe in God, then where do you get your morality from? The reason why morality is such a big thing is that there are so many things that peg on this one particular topic. You'll find things like LGBTQ rights, things like abortion. All these things, people make suggestions on them, or they give their opinion based on their morality. Now, this video will kind of be a blend of both philosophy and atheism. Now, when it comes to morality, there are two main camps. The first one claim objective morality. That is, morality is embedded into the laws of the universe. It's something like the laws of physics. They are there, they are unbending, they are unchangeable. Some think that God Himself created morality as He was creating the universe. So the laws are there and they are unchanging. Then there is subjective morality. This means that we cannot exactly pinpoint like an absolute standard of morality, but we can have subjective standards based on something that we can all agree on. So I fall on the latter camp that I think morality has subjective roots, or I'll call it a subjective grounding. But I'll explain myself later. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, I see, morality is objective. God is the one who gives us morality. He tells us what is right from what is wrong. Even though I know some of you believe in God, but kuna sheria hamfuatangi. If you know, you know. Anyway, that aside. So I know you guys are thinking, morality is objective. God has created this thing. But I want to show you that even if you believe in God, morality is not exactly objective as you may think. And let me introduce to you something called the Euthyphros dilemma. Now, I've mentioned this one in the past when talking about philosophy and ethics. So, I want us to now concentrate on the Euthyphros dilemma because it shows the subjectivity of morality, even if it was created by a god. So the Euthyphros dilemma asks, is something loved by God because it is inherently good? Or is it good because it is loved by God? Let me give you a moment to let that sink in and think about it. Now, I'm sure when you look at that dilemma, something doesn't quite feel right when you understand it. Now, if you pick the first option, it would mean that something is good, or God says something is good because it is inherently good. This means that there is a standard of morality outside God, or a standard of morality that God Himself looks up to determine what is good and right. If you're a classical theist or theologian, then that has a problem because you believe that God Himself is the source from which everything else emanates from. Akiwa line ingefanya theology. But you believe that. So it would mean that you can't have something that supersedes God or something that He looks up to. Now, when we come to the other option, saying that something is good or moral just because God loves it would mean that morality still becomes subjective because it is based off the whims of your God. If God wakes up today and decides killing is moral, then it becomes moral. If he decides it's not moral, then it becomes immoral. And that shows the subjectivity of your morality because it is based on what God feels like. Now, if I ask you, do you think killing babies is wrong? I'm sure right now some of you know the answer. Some of you felt it instinctively, answered it out. Some of you are like, this is a trick question and are afraid to answer, but you know the answer. I'm sure we would agree that killing a child is wrong. Now, the question is, and here is where maybe those who saw the trick, what if God commands you to kill a child? And I can see some of you going like, God doesn't command us to do something wrong. By the way, if you have any objection to this or any point or comment, don't feel shy. You can post this video, go there on the comment section. Comment, type your comment. I'd like to hear your side of the story. Then you can come back and continue watching. Now, back to killing. Do you think killing a child is moral? What if God commanded it? Would it make it moral? Think, for example, when the Israelite soldiers were told to kill the Amalekite children, did it make it moral simply because God had commanded it? And I know some of you will say, but the Amalekites deserved it. But think of it, children and infants, they had done nothing. They were simply paying for the sins of the previous generation. And in fact, in the Amalekite story, they were paying for sins that not even their generation committed. It was done hundreds of years in advance. Now, was it moral when they were killing off those children? Think about this also. In the Abrahamic religions, they celebrate Abraham for doing the greatest thing he could ever do. That was being willing to kill his son or offer him up as a sacrifice. When Abraham was taking that knife, ready to slaughter Isaac, was he doing something moral or immoral? Now, you can see when it comes to Abraham and those soldiers, you'll say it's moral. But when it comes to any other child, you'll say it's probably immoral. Why? Just because on this particular issue, God had commanded it. So it does show your morality is also subjective, based on the whims of a God. Now, as if that's not enough, let me point out something again wrong with what they call divine command theory. That is saying that we get our morals from God. Now, no one alive today, or let me say most alive today, they do not claim to have direct commune to God. That is, they do not claim to get their instructions directly from God. I'm sure there are some who claim that, but most people do not claim that. What do they have to rely on? They have to rely on their holy books. If you are a Christian, and let me put this perspective to Christians, I know there are a majority of those who watch my content. When you are a Christian, you have the Bible. First of all, somebody was inspired by God to write this message. In which language? An original dead language. Probably ancient Hebrew, ancient Aramaic, ancient Greek. That's the first thing. Then you need to rely on someone who uses their subjective opinion to translate from the original to whatever you have now. As if that's not enough, many of you again have to rely on your spiritual leader, be it your pastor, to again come and interpret and put in context, their own interpretation and subjective context into this word that is then given to you. So you can see there are layers of subjectivity again fed into that one word. And this is why we have so many denominations, none of them agree. And I'm sure you're thinking it's a problem unique to Christians. No, this problem is unique across all religions. Now, this is why I'm telling you the morality is subjective, even from the divine command theory. Now, I know many theists or Christians, that is, people who are believers, usually try to show that atheists cannot have objective morality, and therefore try to make this look like a point against atheism. First of all, I'd like to say that atheism in itself has no stand in morality. But what happens is that many atheists also happen to be humanists like myself. Now, you may wonder, without a God, how do we get morality? And I know I have touched on this a little bit in the past, but I'll tell you something. As a humanist, then I believe my morality should be based on something. What do I base my morality on? So many humanists agree, and this is where the subjective part comes in, that we want what is called well-being for us as humanity. We are concerned about our well-being. Some call it flourishing, others call it happiness. That is, we want to maximize well-being. Others define it as minimizing suffering. Now, these are broad concepts, but the thing why I say it is subjective is that there is no inherent reason in the universe why you and I should care about the well-being of humans. However, I want to reiterate that even if there is no objective thing in the universe, we, you and I, and most other people would agree that evidently or eventually we all do what we want to do because we want to feel happy, we want to feel content. We can basically agree what motivates you, what motivates me, basically at the ground level, is we are all seeking happiness. We are all seeking our well-being, our self-preservation. And that is what motivates people. Most people, that is. So that's why I'm telling you it's subjective, in that I'm sure not everyone will agree, but most of us can agree we want well-being. We want to live in a good world where you don't have to worry about your security. You don't have to worry about what will happen to you. I'm sure we would all like to live in a good place. Now, with such a grounding, I'm telling you the grounding is subjective. That is well-being. We can make, however, objective assessments as to whether we are actually going closer to that goal or far away from that goal. Now, think of this. If I come and pick your stuff, suppose I come and pick your phone, run away with it, have I increased your well-being? Have I minimized your suffering? Now you can see, when I take your phone, you'll have no method of communication. You'll have no access to, let's say, the internet, which in actual fact, in this current world, minimizes your well-being and increases your suffering. Now you see, we can make objective assessments towards that goal. And I'm sure, let's say some of you are like, but yeah, the grounding is the grounding is subjective. But how can we be sure we are making totally objective assessments? And the thing is, with such a goal in mind, then we can look at our actions and decide whether it is reaching this goal or not. A good example of something, again, that is totally subjective, the grounding is subjective, but we do make objective assessments. I know right now fans wa EPL tuko kwenye nyumba, sitaki kusema timu yangu round hii, lakini tuna perform poa kidogo. Maybe by the time una watch itakuwa imechange, but top of the table bado, I guess. Now, I wanted to say football itself, we have the goal lines, we have the two teams, we have the ball, we have no, nimesema ball. Acha kufikiria hivyo. So we have the ball, we have the two teams made up of 11 on both sides. We have the goal. We understand what it implies. We have the penalty area. All these are subjective rules. There is nothing that says that the penalty area has to be the measurement that it usually is. Nothing says that the football field should be 100 meters across. Nothing says that, nothing objectively or in the universe objectively says that when an opposing member shoots the ball and it crosses your goal line, goes outside, then you need to give them a corner kick. There is nothing objective about that. Nothing says that when the ball, nothing in the universe inherently says that when the ball passes the goal line, then you have to be awarded 1 point. There is nothing that says that. However, we have made these rules and now we can make subjective assessment. For example, when you're watching your favorite game and you see your team member there in the penalty area and somebody comes and fouls him, you instantly know what's gonna happen. You know that this is a penalty. You see? So we can make objective assessment based on these subjective rules that we have made in a game called football. Same way, we can make objective assessment as to what is moral and what is not moral, what is morally neutral, based on a goal such as well-being or minimizing suffering, something that we have agreed on. So that is where me as an atheist, I get my morality from. So when I say murder is wrong, I know because murdering decreases the well-being of that person. And I know this sounds more like the thought of philosophy known as utilitarianism. And utilitarianism simply says that we are looking for the greater good of the greater number of people, and that to make these moral assessments, you have to look as an objective observer, that is, not as somebody who is inside trying to make the decision. For example, when it comes to something like slavery, you can't say slavery is moral because you think of yourself as a slave owner. You have to put yourself outside that situation and imagine it could go all anyway. And so clearly you can see slavery is not moral. Now, that is what I wanted to talk about morality and the grounding for morality we have, or the grounding for morality that most humanists have. And I know I try to simplify it. It goes deeper than that. This is just basically to give you a rough idea of what's going on, because we really care about human dignity and raising standards of living for everyone. So, and I know there are also very many gray areas and everything going on, but I think this is a better way of us reasoning, because we can actually sit down and have this discussion as to why something is moral or not. See, when it comes to divine command theory or thinking that God gives you your morals, you can't have a discussion about it. God says this is right, God says this is wrong, that is final. But now we can sit down and think, does this really help people? Does putting women as second-class citizens really do a greater good for all of us as a society? And then from there, we can make conclusions. So that is why I wanted you to know where humanists are coming from and why I think it's a better method of morality, because we can actually have these discussions. So, as you know, my channel, I encourage us to have conversations and talk. So I'll tell you one thing, please, if you have something to say, go there, go to the comments. Please comment, and remember, keep it civil. Keep it civil. And the other thing I'd like to say is engage. engage. And by engaging, I mean engage in a conversation. We're not here to just say something, but you should engage. When asked a question, please answer the question accordingly. Sawa sawa. Please guys, like this video. Remember to subscribe and also share this video. And asanteni sana for the support you've been giving me. I know this time I've also been doing other things, like I had a discussion with Reasons to Doubt. I'll be posting it also on my channel in a few weeks or so. I'll post some elements of it and then redirect you to go see the entire video. Thanks a lot for your support, guys. It's been real. I have appreciated, manze. You guys have helped me grow to over 100 subscribers now. We are growing slowly but surely. Thanks a lot, and remember, keep it always tuongee na Kilonzi.